This is part of the beginning of the story. Um, I've changed the dates and locations. One thing I will say is that this part of this story right here. You can think that it's fiction or nonfiction. It's my story, but I will never in my life reveal the names of the people that's in this story because, um, regardless of what people think about me, I will share my experiences, but I will in no way incriminate nobody with these experiences. So here's my story. When I was in eighth grade, I was walking down the street, and three kids jumped out of a car and began to take turns punching me until I fell down. Then they stomped on my head and kicked me in the ribs. I never fought back once. All I could do was cry. I was terrified and confused because I didn't do anything to deserve this. I wouldn't walk down that street for years to come. But when I started in my new school that year, those kids were my same grade, and some of them was in my classes. I tried to avoid them, but I couldn't. They'd corner me in the hallway and call me a bitch and a fag and threaten me. The confrontation would always end with me in tears and everyone laughing. On the last day of school of my eighth grade year, while we was all crowding in the halls to head home for summer break, one of the kids approached me. Even though they bullied me, I would try to be nice to them because I believed if I befriended them, maybe the punishment would stop. When this kid approached me, I had a friendly smile on my face. Maybe he was coming to tell me to have a good summer break. Wishful thinking, right? He punched me in the mouth and walked off. All my classmates seen it. Some people laughed. Some whispered, "What a bitch." Others didn't notice or seem to care. I walked out of my last day of junior high with tears rolling down my cheeks. I walked home by myself because I didn't have any friends. Why are people assholes? My new house was a den of thieves. My dad got strung out on the needle and lost his job of 14 years, and we were forced to move into this apartment owned by one of my dad's associates. All his friends and family used the apartment as a flop house. On any given day, there were 10 to 30 people running in and out, all hours of the night and day, drinking, smoking weed, shooting meth, sharing needles, plotting crimes. There was never any food or toilet paper, and the apartment was roach infested. I'm going to leave a lot of this out. I'm going to leave a lot of this out because some people would get really offended. I'll read this part. I started running with this gang of kids my age. To be accepted into the clique, you had to get initiated with a beatdown. One day they all jumped in. They jumped me in. They beat me so bad I went home with a footprint on my face. I thought I'd get in trouble, but no one even noticed the footprint. This gang of kids never accepted me. They bullied me and made fun of me every day. I was scared of them, but I didn't have anyone else to hang out with, and I needed someone and somewhere to feel accepted. I thought of them as my friends. One night there was a big party at my house. I drank too much and smoked a blunt, and it made me sick. I puked and passed out in my sister's bedroom. I woke up, and some guy had my pants pulled down and had his fingers in my ass crack. There were a group of people watching, and they were all laughing like it was a prank, but I felt humiliated and ashamed. Over the next couple months, he started flashing me his penis and opening the shower curtain when I was trying to shower. This dude was in his 30s. I think I was 13 or 14. I still looked up to this guy as a role model. I didn't realize I'd been violated. That summer, there was a party at my house, and my dad's friend was shot and killed. It was all over the news. Looking back, I never felt safe at home, at school, or in the streets. I realized I never fit in from the day I walked into kindergarten and on through high school. In high school, I didn't fit in anywhere. Even the outcasts didn't have a seat at their table for me. I cried a lot at nights. I started missing a lot of days at school. I had a class where some kids started a rumor that I was gay. The entire class would make fun of me, and the teacher wouldn't say shit. Around this time, I started fantasizing a lot about violence. One day, I made the vow to stop crying. My parents told me I cried too much. This is something they frequently told me throughout my life. They also told me my life would be worse than theirs. I believed them. One day I overheard them having a conversation that I might be gay because I didn't seem interested in girls. Truth was, I wasn't gay. I just didn't know how to talk to a woman. In fact, all the women I knew were strippers and junkies, and they were all intimidating. My sister never once tried to hook me up with any of her stripper friends, and always felt like she was ashamed to have me for a brother. She was embarrassed of me. About crying. Anytime I got punched or made fun of, crying never helped the situation. I dropped out of high school and stayed home all day. I didn't have a social life. I hadn't developed any social skills. I didn't have a sense of humor. I just sat at home and fantasized about hurting the people that hurt me. I started to believe that if I hurt people, then people would respect me and look up to me. I couldn't go into a restaurant or a store or a shopping center without thinking everyone was looking at me and judging me as a loser. My anxiety would get so bad, I'd have to leave the store without buying what I came for. My dad was a full-blown needle junkie and my mom was bedridden with an opiate addiction. If they would have been healthy, I believe they would have noticed something was wrong with me. I have to stop right now and tell you guys that my mom and dad is the most loving, awesome parents in the world. And this story might be one perspective, but my life was so full of love and understanding and acceptance and guidance. And I learned good things from all of these people in this story. And if I hadn't, I would not be alive to this day. And I'd never forget where I came from. Never will I forget where I came from. And I don't give a fuck who gets mad about me telling you this story, but one thing's for certain. I ain't never been around nothing but a bunch of solid ass people. You hear me? And the people that I got my virtues from were solid, stomped down ass motherfuckers. And they all got destroyed either by their own actions or a bunch of fake ass motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? And this world's full of fake ass motherfuckers, and I ain't one of them. And if you are one and you're trying to destroy me, I forgive you. I used drugs heavilier when I could from the age of about 13 on, but when I discovered alcohol is when my life spiraled out of control. I started drinking, then I started stealing cars, then I started fighting. I turned 18, went to prison 1 week later, and I've been incarcerated 18 of the past 21 years. I don't fantasize about violence anymore, but for a very long time, my only way to deal with any confrontation was to punch you in the face immediately. All the bitterness has left me, and I feel lucky to be alive. I've only told you a very small portion of my story because you asked why I thought crying was a weakness and why I felt vulnerable. Those are two questions that I couldn't answer with a few simple sentences. Because a lot has happened for me to adopt some of the twisted beliefs I have. I want you to know that I did relearn how to cry. I feel vulnerable when people perceive me as nice because in the environment I come from, nice is just another word for easy target. I know it's not true, but some people lack the sense to distinguish between the two of being nice and being an easy target. Plus, for a long time, it was dangerous for me to be nice because I had a hair trigger for violence. So if someone approached me believing me to be an easy target, I'd flash on them in a second and then have to suffer the consequences of a felony or a conduct report or an ass whooping. Mostly it was an ass whooping and a conduct report and a felony, all three. It's crazy because I don't look at myself anymore as a badass. I only did the shit I did to survive in my environment. And for you to see me as being nice is you being able to see who I really am. And it's who I know I can be because it's who I would have been if I would have had a better upbringing. Don't get me wrong, I'm a little fucked up, obviously. But I could be a lot fucking worse.